Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. This program is for educational purposes only. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual sharing their testimony. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach.
Hello and welcome everyone. Let's go ahead and open up that Zoom room and let everyone in. My name is Ruth Ellen Sanchez and I want to welcome you to Daily with Doc and Becca. Thank you so much for joining us. And I need to say this, and Ben hates it, but I'm saying it anyway. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results may vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims for income or health. And as an empowered individual, you have options. So again, thank you for joining us. Also, if somebody referred you to this program, please make sure to get back with them. And today we have the man, the myth, and the legend, Pharmacist Ben Fuchs. And I'm going to go ahead and bring him up.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome, Ben.
Thank you. You get that, AJ? Myth and legend. Not just the man, the myth and the legend.
Yes, yes.
What's up, people?
Welcome.
Nice to see you guys. Nice to see everybody on. I'm wondering if my friend Chicago's on the call here.
Yes, Chicago is here.
Is Chicago on there? I've been talking to Chicago, and he was asking me some questions, and I thought they'd be really interesting to talk about on the call. And this all has to do with the idea that there's not a lot of things that go wrong in the body, but there's a lot of places where those few things go wrong. So the breakdown of the body is generic. It happens the same for everybody, but where it happens is different. What that means is that from a reversal perspective, and I didn't say cure here, I said reversal perspective, it doesn't matter whether you have Alzheimer's disease or osteoporosis or atrial fibrillation or kidney disease or whatever, you're going to follow the same protocols, A. Those protocols are going to involve lifestyle, not medicine, not doctors, B. And not only will you be targeting or reversing the part of the body that's problematic or that you notice is problematic, but you're going to add years to your life and you're going to improve the overall functioning of the body. And that's so important to recognize because that immediately marginalizes the authorities who are purporting to make us feel better. They admit that they can't cure us, but purporting to help us feel better by giving us drugs and by giving us doing surgical procedures and all the and radiations and X-rays and all the things that they use as part of their medical treatments. So I was talking to Chicago about a condition. He has a low ejection fraction. That is, his heart's not pumping out blood as effectively as it should, and he also has arrhythmias. Arrhythmias are when the heart's out of rhythm. Atrial fibrillation, which is a classic example of an arrhythmia. The heart doesn't beat properly. And I was going over some of the mechanisms behind this. And, I always talk about mechanisms because I always want you guys to understand how these things happen so you can address it yourself. We want to demystify our bodies, demystify health. It's always in the interest of an authority to make things mystical and magical. That's why they talk in Latin. That's why they write in Latin. And that's why they have these fancy Latin terms for their diagnoses. Politics do it, legal systems do it, the government does it, and it happens in health. So what we want to do is we want to demystify this. We want to make this simple and easy to understand. Immediately when we do that, we take our power back. One time I asked Dr. Wallach, I know I probably told you guys this before, I asked Dr. Wallach why he called the company American Longevity. He told me it represents two of his favorite ideas, longevity, which is health, and America, which is do it yourself. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. No kings. You know, that No Kings thing that they had a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, whenever it was, that No Kings protest rally. That's how this country started. No kings. And especially when it comes to our health. And that's the whole goal here, is to pick ourselves up by our bootstraps, apply lifestyle protocols that we can use and we can utilize from the comforts of our own living rooms and bathrooms and bedrooms and kitchens, and not have to deal with a medical model which by its own admission cannot help us. By its own admission, they'll tell you. So can we get Chicago up? Is Chicago here? Mr. Chicago?
All right, let me ask him to unmute.
I'd love to see your smiley face there, Mr. Chicago.
Okay, you got me?
I got you, but let's see what you look like, buddy.
Oh, now
you know,
Give me
my
one
wife is not here. She's the brains with that, and you know it, Ben.
Okay, all right, I got you. Okay, so don't worry about it. So anyway, Chicago, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you got going on, but be succinct.
Well, you kind of hit the nail there, because you know me for 25 years. But yeah, I wanted to know about the arrhythmia. Where did it come from? What is this? Dirty blood. What do we do to clean it? And
there you are.
Potassium and magnesium. What parts do they play?
We'll talk about all that. So the heart, or before I tell you that, one of the principles, the first principle, whenever you're trying to accomplish a goal, you want to start off with the first principle. First idea. One of the first principles of healing and health is where you see the problem is not where the problem begins. Where you see the problem is not where the problem begins. We have a medical model, paradigm, system that focuses on where we see the problem. So you have a heart issue, you go to a cardiologist. You got a brain issue, you go to a neurologist. You got a bone issue, you go to an osteopath. You got a female health issue, you go to OBGYN, etc., etc. The key to reversing, and to say cure, I said reversing, and despite what we heard at the beginning, this is all about reversing. It's not about simply for education purposes only. This is for reversing your health challenges, with all due respect to the people who wrote that, and Ruth Allen, I don't mean to be rude.
It's okay.
This is for reversing the issue. You go upstream. Always go upstream. The one exception is with the digestive system, because that's where it all begins. Every health challenge, of which we have over 5,000 different diagnoses, every single one can only be addressed from a reversal standpoint by going upstream. And the good news is there's only a couple of stops upstream. It's not like you have a bunch of places you got to stop at. You only got 2 locations, 2 terminals, 2 bus stops upstream. Right? You get the problem in your heart or your brain or your bones or your skin or your respiratory system or your lungs or whatever. You go backwards, and there's only 2 spots you got to hit. And these 2 spots have one thing in common. And this one thing in common is always going to be in common. The life of the flesh is in the blood. And all disease is cellular. So if you have a heart problem, you got a heart cell problem. And if you have a brain problem, you got a brain cell problem. And if you got a bone problem, you got a bone cell problem. By the way, I'm reading this book right here. I don't know if you can see it. Super cool book, The Miracle of If you got a health problem, you got a cell problem. And so we say all disease is cell disease, but all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. All disease is cell disease. A cell's not getting fed, a cell's not getting oxygenated, a cell's not getting detoxified, a cell is swimming in its own waste, and sugar counts as waste, drugs count as waste. This puts a stress on the cell, it starts to break down, it doesn't perform as well, we get sick. And we think it's the heart, but it's the heart cell. We think it's the liver, but it's the liver cell. We think it's the bone, but it's the bone cell. But you can't treat the cell directly. You got to go to the blood, which is feeding and breathing and oxygenating the cell. So all disease is cell disease, but all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. In the case of Chicago, all heart disease is heart cell disease. So Chicago's talked about a weak ejection fraction. That means the blood is not coming out of the heart effectively enough, which means the heart's pumping action is weak. It's not pumping hard enough, so the blood doesn't come out enough. So they call it a weak or a low ejection fraction. That's a fancy way of saying not enough blood's coming out.
Yes.
And then, no surprise, if you understand the mechanism here, Chicago also says he has some arrhythmia issues. Well, obviously, if the heart's not going boom, 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 it's going blah, 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 instead of boom, 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 you're not going to get the blood coming out. And I say blah, 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 like jelly, right? Even the word fibrillation, think about the word fibrillation. Doesn't it sound like jelly? Like,
yes.
Blah, 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 like that?
Yes.
That tells you that you're not getting boom, 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 boom. That's what you need to pump that blood out. If you're going blah, 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 like that, you're not getting enough out. So cardiac, Chicago's a cardiac problem, heart problem, but it's a heart cell problem. All disease is cell disease. All heart disease is heart cell disease. And all cell disease, all heart cell disease is preceded by, help me out, Chicago, preceded
dirty
by
blood.
Dirty blood. Dirty blood, exactly. So then the question is how do we clean the blood? That's it.
Yes,
so
that was my next question.
All right. Let's work with me here, okay? So how do we clean the blood? Well, in order to clean the blood, we got to know how it's getting dirty in the first place, right?
Yes.
How does the blood get dirty? Well, there's only two portals or entry points into the blood, doorways into the blood. One doorway into the blood is through your skin. So, Chicago, you out in the back alley shooting up crack or meth or heroin? Probably
no way.
not, right? So it's probably not going to be through the skin. However, as we talked about yesterday, me and Chicago had a conversation yesterday, there is a certain thing that I'm not allowed to say, or else we'll get kicked off of YouTube and Rumble and wherever, that our medical geniuses, excuse my sarcasm, told us all to stick in our arms because in case we caught a cold, in case we got a virus. They told us to stick things in the blood. So guess what happens? Now people have blood clots. Now people have pericarditis. Now people have shortened lifespans and early demise. Well, surprise, surprise. They've dirtied their blood. They stuck stuff in their blood. And that's why anytime some knucklehead medical professional tells you to stick stuff in your blood, you tell them to stick it somewhere else. If you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay? Because he doesn't know what he's talking about. Unless you have an emergency, that's different. But Chicago's not sticking stuff in through his blood. He's not shooting anything up. He's not doing anything like that. So what's the second portal into the blood?
Bad eating.
The intestine. It's not quite, let's not get into the bad eating yet. I just want to talk about what's getting in the blood. It's the intestine. So things get into the bloodstream through the intestine. The two main problems materials that get into the blood are 1, food, and 2, sugar. Those are the only two contaminants. Oh, I shouldn't say the only two. There's also bacterial particles and toxins from bacteria in the intestine. So we'll say intestinal material and sugar. Those are the two biggest culprits for dirty blood, unless you're injecting. Assuming you're not injecting, the two biggest culprits are intestinal material, and that can be bacteria, toxins from bacteria, immune activating chemicals from immune cells in the intestine, or food particles and sugar. So listen, you guys, if you understood what I just said in the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that's all disease. That's cancer. That's heart disease. That's autoimmune disease. That's Alzheimer's disease. That's movement disorders of all kinds. That's skin diseases. That's everything. That's everything. And I said to Chicago, I said, we had a conversation yesterday or the day before, and I said, there's only one thing that you gotta do before we start talking about all the health things, and there's only one thing that anybody who's listening has to do in order to leverage or take advantage of these very simple ideas. And as easy as this one thing is, sometimes people don't have this one thing, and that is to believe.
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 Yes.
Believe. There are so many people listening to this that say, well, it sounds right, but my doctor didn't tell me that. Or it sounds right, but I didn't hear that on the news. Or it sounds right, but I still want to eat my French fries. Or it sounds good. You know, there's an element of doubt. There's an element of a lack of willingness. But if you have the willingness and you believe in what I'm saying, it's simple. It's not complicated. Do not suffer from the disease, the main disease that smart people suffer from. AJ, what's the one that's a disease smart
Overthinkitis.
Overthinkitis.
Ah.
Don't be overthinking. If you have a health challenge, it's in the blood, a chronic health challenge. And by the way, I was reading about long COVID today. Some guy sent me an email, some doctor sent me an email. They're going to do a seminar on long COVID. Long COVID is dirty blood. Same with chronic Lyme disease, dirty blood. Anything that where the body doesn't heal, you can rest assured you're dealing with dirty blood, and that includes sugar. So for arrhythmias, let me just do a quick, you don't even need this, but just to make it a little bit easier to understand, let me explain how this whole thing happens. Remember, I think we talked about this, AJ, on our call Monday. You go to the stadium, you go to the Mets game, and they do what? The wave. Remember the wave, right? I stand up and then I sit down. The next guy stands up and they sit down. The next guy stands up, they sit down. And if you look at it from the sky, what happens? It looks like a wave, right? Just like a wave. That's what a wave is. A wave is when part of something in the ocean, for example, part of something goes up and then it goes down and then it goes up and then it goes down. That's called a wave. In electricity, if you study physics or electricity, we have waves, sine waves. They go up and they go down. If you do radio, if anybody out there does radio, they know they got sine waves. They go up and they go down, they go up and they go down. A heartbeat is a wave, and it happens in the heart. And so picture all the little heart cells like people in a stadium going up and down and up and down and up and down through the heart. That's called propagation. Propagation is the spreading of the wave. The wave propagates. It spreads. So up and down, that's under normal conditions. And we take this for granted because it happens every second. Boom, 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 boom. And it's all a wave. And you can see it on an EKG. If you ever have seen your EKG, you see waves on the EKG, right? Have you ever seen an EKG, electrocardiogram, the graph that they give you? Or if they put you in the hospital, God forbid, you're in they put all the wires on you and you're laying in bed, you can see the machine. It goes up and down, up and down. It's a wave.
Yes.
However, over the course of time, as our body breaks down, as the accumulation of toxicity, the lack of nutrition, and the lack of oxygen kick in, eventually you have disturbances in the wave. These disturbances are caused by defects in the cells. In other words, imagine in your stadium where the guy's going up and down, up and down. Imagine somebody is in a wheelchair. They can't go up and down. They're going to stop the wave. Imagine you have a bunch of people in wheelchairs or handicapped people right in the middle, and the wave comes, and all of a sudden there's people there, or handicapped people. The wave won't go. The wave stops. Or if it goes through, it won't go through smoothly. In the heart, those handicapped people are represented by broken cells. And those broken cells are protected or cushioned from the rest of the body by a word that we throw around all the time, and we never think about what this word means. In other words, a cell dies or is broken or is defective in the middle of the heart, the body will put a Band-Aid on those cells to protect the rest of the good tissue, so to keep it safe from the bad cells. What do we call that Band-Aid? It's the one word that all health challenges involve. What's that word? Inflammation. Inflammation blocks the wave. So you have inflammation, which follows cells that are dying or broken or dysfunctional. The inflammation blocks the propagation. So instead of getting boom, 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 you get blah, 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 blah. like that. You get fibrillation, you get arrhythmia, you get a weakened muscle. You following me, Chicago?
Yes, I'm writing, following, and writing too.
This is all about inflammation, which follows dead cells or broken cells or dysfunctional cells, which follows dirty blood. So dirty blood leads to dead or dysfunctional cells, leads to inflammation. That's all disease. Whether it happens in the brain and you call it Alzheimer's disease, or it happens in the heart and you call it arrhythmias, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And the good news is that when you do all the things we tell you to do to take care of the blood and the inflammation at the heart, you're going to reduce your risk of Alzheimer's disease because it's the same mechanism. And the bad news is, if you don't take care of it at the heart level, you're going to run higher risks of Alzheimer's disease and movement disorders and cancer and osteoporosis and all the other diseases that we suffer from. This is why nutrition is so powerful. And simultaneously, it's why the medical model is so impotent. Nutrition is powerful because now you're cutting the head off the snake. You get everything. You're better off everywhere. Medicine is impotent because they're only focusing on the heart. You're still going to have a brain problem, and you're still going to have a bone problem, and a movement disorder problem, and all the other problems that you have. And this is why medicine fails. And this is not just an assertion from Pharmacist Ben. All you got to do is look at the statistics. Look at the hospitals. Look at what's going on in our world. It's a disaster. It's an utter and complete disaster. And yet we human beings still go to the doctor when we're sick because we don't believe. We don't believe in ourselves. We don't believe in God. We don't believe in the wisdom of the body. We don't believe that we can do this. And so we still go, and we go, and we go, and we go. And not only do we go, and we go, and we go, we're told that they can't help us, but they got to see us in 6 months anyway, just to check to see if we're still the same disaster that we were the first time we went. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting
different results.
Yes, it's insane. So what do? What's the solution? Well, always backtrack to the intestine because that's where the blood comes from. If you're injecting, then you stop injecting. But for most of us, it's going to be through the blood. You do a food diary and notice the kinds of foods that make you bloat, give you gas, constipation, diarrhea, heartburn, discomfort of any kind. You can also go by your skin because a lot of times when you have a problem food, it'll show up on your skin. So if you have rashes or you have hives or you have itchiness, note, and it flares, like your itchiness gets worse and then it goes down, and your hives get worse and they go down, connect them all. Start to notice a relationship between what you're doing to your body or what you're putting in your body and how your body's responding. That's called listening to your body. Remember, listening to your body. We don't listen. I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful. I've known Chicago a long time, so I'm just going to be frank with you. Chicago,
yes,
your body's been talking to you for 70 years.
Yes.
And you haven't listened until now or recently. And I'm not picking on you because we're all like that. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're all like that. We don't listen until our body yells at us. So your body
knocks us down.
Your body will eventually do that. So the body, you eat, you're a teenager, you eat your Captain Crunch and your French fries and whatever it is, and your body whispers, it says, I didn't like that. Don't do that. And we don't hear it. And if we do, we don't pay attention to it. And then a little later it says, you're in your 20s or 30s, you said, I said I didn't like that. Please, no. And we don't listen. We're young. We're still doing our life. We don't care. And then finally we're 40 and our body says, boom, arthritis, boom, heart disease, boom, cancer, God forbid, boom, acne or psoriasis or whatever it is. And then we listen. And sometimes not even then. Sometimes it takes a death sentence, and sometimes not even then. There are people who will take the oxygen mask off so they can smoke their cigarettes. Literally. They'll have the oxygen machine on and they want to smoke. They'll take it off and they'll smoke. So we don't even listen then sometimes. But nonetheless, for most of us, we'll listen when, we can't walk or when we get a heart, God forbid, something in the heart or some horrible diagnosis. So the body's always talking to us. It starts off with food. So when I said to you, you have to believe, the reason I said that is because it's not intuitive to think that your digestive system is related to your heart. It doesn't connect. A couple weeks ago or a month ago, we talked about glaucoma, and I said, again, glaucoma is arthritis of the eye. It's heart disease of the eye. It's Alzheimer's disease of the eye. It's the same thing. But how is the eye related to the digestive system? It just doesn't make sense. That's why I go out of my way to kind of show you how this whole pathway works. So you start off with food. You do a food diary, and you link foods to A, digestive problems, and that means you have to really pay attention because they go under the radar. You don't really notice them sometimes. You got to really pay attention, and that's why writing things down is very important. And then if you have skin issues, you can connect your foods to skin issues. And for you, Chicago, you can check your digestive system with your heart issues. There may be certain foods that make your heart race. There may be certain foods that you're eating that make it more likely that you'll have an arrhythmia. So kind of pay attention to the relationship between foods and your symptoms. That's first step number one. Step number two, because sugar represents a major blood toxin, and it's a little problematic because you need some sugar. So it's not like you can't have zero sugar. You need to have some sugar, but you have to keep it down to a minimum. Sugar gets into the blood. It's very inflammatory. Luckily, the body has a way of pulling the sugar out of the blood, but over time, that doesn't happen as efficiently, and the sugar stays high. And what's worse is sugar causes insulin to go up. And doctors never check for insulin. They check for sugar. And insulin is just as bad a problem as sugar is. And nobody knows. And even worse than that is when your insulin's high, your sugar could be normal. And the doctor will say, oh, your blood sugar's normal, you're fine. But he hasn't noticed, because he hasn't tested or hasn't checked, that your insulin is through the roof to make your sugar stay normal. So you can't go by testing. That doesn't work. They'll tell you, oh, your blood sugar is normal, but you got all the symptoms of diabetes and heart disease and arrhythmia and ejection fraction problems. Those are all related to sugar. So the second thing you got to do is you got to reduce your intake of fast burning sugars. Obviously, sucrose, sugar is a problem, but so is fruit juice, so are potatoes, so is rice, so is white bread, so is desserts of all kinds, so is soda pop. There's a lot of things that will throw off your sugar balance and your insulin, which will ultimately give you the dirty blood, which will ultimately kill the cells, which will give you the inflammation. So you treat yourself like a diabetic, whether or not you've been diagnosed. That doesn't matter. If you have a chronic degenerative disease, whether it's heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, whatever, assume you have a blood sugar problem. Assume it. And treat yourself like a diabetic. I'll tell you how you do that in a second here. But the most important thing is you don't eat the foods that spike your blood sugar. Then the second element is the nutrition. First element is the blood, clean the blood. The second element is the nutrition. And this is where Dr. Wallach, his genius comes in. He said, and he said this in 1990, probably said it in 1980, 1972 as well. We're starving. And the starvation starts with the minerals, and it leads into the vitamins and the fatty acids and the amino acids and the protein, because all of that comes from the minerals. The plants make the vitamins and they make the proteins and the amino acids and the peptides and the fatty acids from the minerals. So we're all deficient unless we're supplementing. You're not getting it from the 4 food groups. That ain't happening. So you get on for Chicago, the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. And I would throw in the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack as well. And by the way, for you guys selling longevity and on the phone team, if somebody's got a heart problem, they also got a sugar problem. And while the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack will give them all the heart stuff, they still need the Ultimate Niacin, they still need the Sweeties, they still need the Ultimate MSM if you want to do something else, the Ultimate Selenium, the Fuchs Z. All of these are very helpful for blood sugar. I always treat them both together. So you take all your nutrients, and Fuchs Z, by the way, does double duty, because not only is it really important for blood sugar, it also fluidizes the blood. It counteracts dirty blood. Fuchs Z counteracts dirty blood. Okay? And then also, by the way, ultimate EFAs counteract dirty blood. And also, by the way, the ultimate enzymes taken on an empty stomach counteract dirty blood. And the nightly essence has nattokinase in it, which also counteracts dirty blood. And, oh, by the way, glucogel caps counteract dirty blood. And, oh, by the way, water counteracts dirty blood. And, oh, by the way, plant-derived minerals counteract dirty blood. And if you want to throw a couple more things in there, you can throw in the ultimate MSM, which has chelating properties, the CFX, which has chelating properties, the ultimate selenium, which has chelating properties, and anything, and I don't remember the products that have it, I think maybe the immortalium, you have to help me out, AJ, that has N-acetylcysteine in it will counteract dirty blood. I think it's the immortalium, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so that counteracts your dirty blood. Then, the most important substance for the body and to clean the blood and to improve fluidity, it's not nutrition. What is the most important substance for the body for keeping us alive? You can go 40 days without food. You can go 4 days without water. But you can't go 4 minutes without what? Oxygen. Exactly. Yes. Oxygen, number one, fluidizes the blood. So it improves the delivery, it improves the blood's activity, so it improves delivery of everything and detoxification. But the reason why the heart becomes weak is because it's not getting oxygenated, because the inflammation is blocking oxygen. So slow, deep, rhythmic breathing. Did you do your breathing techniques?
Yes, I'm getting better and better at it.
Right. How do you feel after your slow, deep, rhythmic breathing?
Pretty good.
Good, right?
I gotta really get it down pat, because sort of like a rhythm hit me a little bit early when I was making my breakfast, and I did the breathing, and it really helped me.
Well,
really helped me,
Jesus.
Ben.
Praise God. I'm not. You think I just rolled off the turnip truck yesterday?
No. I know better than that.
Of course. It's crazy that some pharmacist has to do this on Zoom. Your doctor should be doing this. Your medical folks should be doing this. Shouldn't be some guy in Colorado on a Zoom call telling you all this. This should be how we treat ourselves. So oxygenation is key. Now, I told you about the slow, deep, rhythmic breathing. Everybody should be doing slow, deep, rhythmic breathing, because when you oxygenate, it relaxes the body. The body feels like it has abundance. And when you oxygenate, you get more energy. It's like if you have a fire, the energy in the body can be, it's like a type of fire. If you want a fire to get bigger, what do?
Give it oxygen.
Give it oxygen. If you want to put your fire out, what do? You
kill the oxygen.
You suffocate it. Exactly. Yeah. And so we're all walking around, by the time we're in our 60s and 70s, we're not breathing right. We're not breathing correctly. And there's some interesting reasons why that happens, and I want to get into that now. But the point is just something like slow, deep, rhythmic breathing can not only help you with all your cardiac problems, with your arrhythmias, with your ejection fractions, with your fibrillations, with just general heart health, but it also vasodilates. Oxygen opens up blood vessels. So it drops your blood pressure, and it improves perfusion. That is the saturation of tissue with blood. Oxygen also has a calming effect on the brain. It activates the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system. So for people who are dealing with panic attacks, or people who are dealing with anxiety, or people who are dealing with insomnia, or people who are dealing with tremors, or any kind of nervous disorders, brain issues, mental health issues, breathing, oxygen is one of the most powerful and cheap and free elements on the planet. And it's no accident that the word for spirit is the same as the word for breathing. We inspire, we respire. When we breathe, we're taking in the spirit. God is in the breath. The oxygenation is the most spiritual thing you can do. So you inspire, you respire, you calm the body down. And when you're breathing, there's two sides to the breathing equation. There's inhale and there's exhale. And the exhale, believe it or not, is just as, if not more important than the inhale. And when you're breathing to relax, you want to exhale more than you're inhaling. So to breathe to relax, you want to inhale maybe 3, 4, 5 seconds, and you want to exhale 6 or 7 seconds. You want to inhale less than you exhale when you're trying to relax, go to sleep, you have anxiety issues, relax the heart, lower your blood pressure. And for energy, because you can get energy from breathing too, you get more oxygen and less exhale. That's actually called the breath of fire. And if you're driving and you're falling asleep at the wheel, or you're in a meeting and you don't want to fall asleep, or your wife is talking to you, you don't want to nod off. I'm just kidding about that, Chicago. That was just...
Oh my! I know.
I'm teasing. You go breath of fire. You inhale like this, and you exhale short, and that gives you energy. You can hack into your nervous system with your breath for relaxation purposes or for energizing purposes. And that's nutrition, and that's oxygen. And then the last element is the toxification, the detoxification. And that, of course, we talked a little bit about sugar, but also food represents a toxin. Processed foods represent toxins. And ironically, drugs represent toxins. Illegal drugs, obviously, but also prescription drugs. And alcohol and cigarettes and all that represents toxins, so you keep those out of your system as well. Between those three elements, cleaning the digestive system, getting on the nutrition, leveraging the power of oxygen, inhaling and exhaling, and detoxification, keeping the system clean, there is no chronic degenerative disease, none, that will not begin to resolve. And the fastest way to observe this, so you don't have to just listen to me, I don't want anybody ever just listening to me. I want you to test everything yourself. Remember, Ronald Reagan, trust yet verify. I want you checking this out all yourself, okay? Fast for a day. If you have an autoimmune disease, fast for a day. If you have inflammation anywhere in your body, arthritis pain or lupus or rheumatoid or whatever it is, fast for a day. Multiple sclerosis, fast for a day. Alzheimer's disease, fast for a day. Watch what happens. And you'll see when you fast, you feel better. Now, eventually you got to eat and everything. You can't fast forever. Then that's when you start the whole protocol. Watching what you eat, food diary, food elimination, nutritional supplementation, breathing. And by the way, exercise is very important because not only does it help you secrete healing and building molecules, but it also improves respiration, naturally improves respiration, breathing. And for people who feel like it's difficult, believe it or not, some people will have a difficult time breathing correctly. If you sit in a warm bath, you'll find that you naturally breathe correctly. And if you want to really see how to breathe correctly, watch how a baby breathes. Breathe like a baby. Watch your grandbabies or your babies in their crib. Watch how they breathe. And when they're breathing perfectly because they haven't had to deal with life yet. So they have perfect breathing. And their breathing, by the way, and this is the way we all want to breathe, is circular, which means there's no gap. You breathe in and then you breathe out. You breathe in and then you breathe out. Most of the time we breathe, there's a gap between the in-breath and the out-breath. Circular breathing is in and out. In and out. That's how a baby breathes. And that's the best kind of breathing. All right? And that's for every single health challenge. And I know we're going to take questions here in a little bit. And I know someone's going to ask me about glaucoma. And guess what I'm going to say? Or somebody's going to ask me about their parents with Alzheimer's disease. Guess what I'm going to say? Or you're going to ask me about your MS or your rheumatoid. Guess what I'm going to say? I'm telling you, one day you're going to wake up and say, Ben says the same thing every day. We don't need him anymore. And that's my dream. And that should be every healthcare professional's dream, is to get themselves out of the equation so you can do this yourself. And that's how simple it is.
Pharmacist Ben, I know you got people waiting, but real quick, how do we switch now, like, from the medicines that the doctors have given me?
That's a good question. That's a good question. 2 parts to that question. Well, 3 really. First of all, I am never going to tell you not to do something that your doctor told you to do. That's between you and your doctor. And when you have a relationship with your doctor, you have a contract. It's not a literal contract. It's a verbal contract. It's a de facto contract. It's not a real contract, but there's an agreement. And it's none of my business to stick myself in between. And I don't, just like I'm telling you stuff, I wouldn't want somebody to come around the corner and say, "Oh, don't pay attention to Ben. You just do whatever you want. Do what I tell you to do." I don't want it. I wouldn't appreciate that. Your doctor won't appreciate that. So I'm never going to tell you not to take your drugs, not to do what the doctor told you. But you can do it. You don't have to do what the doctor said. You tell the doctor, "Hey, you know what? I want to wean myself off these meds. And I want to do it with you, but I want to do it. I'm not asking your permission, doctor. I'm paying you. You're not paying me. I'm your boss. You're not my boss. So I'm going to tell you, and I want your help." And that's what you say. I can't do that. That's first of all. And I would never do it. That's not polite. That's rude. And I wouldn't want anybody doing it to me if I was helping a patient. I wouldn't do it to somebody else who's helping a patient. That's number one. Number two, the nutrition will help the drugs work better.
Okay.
When you start doing your nutrients, what you're going to be able to do is lower your dose of the drug naturally. So for example, if you're on a beta blocker for your blood pressure, right? It forces your blood pressure down, but you start breathing, you start taking niacin, you start taking coenzyme Q10 or B vitamins or all these nutrients that help lower your blood pressure, you're going to find that you don't need as much drugs. And then gradually, you're not going to need any drugs. So you wean yourself off as you're increasing your other health strategies. You wean yourself off the drugs. Now, there are some drugs you don't have to worry about weaning yourself off because you can just stop taking those. But a lot of drugs you want to wean yourself off gradually. But it's your right to do it. And you'll find that because your nutrition makes your drugs work better, as you're nutriating, as you're loading up with nutrition, you're going to naturally need less medication. And for people out there who are worried that their nutrition will interfere with their poison, which is always crazy to me, where doctors say, "Oh, we don't want you on your vitamins because it'll interfere with the poison I'm giving you." That's just the craziest thing I can't imagine how anybody could say that, but they do. You let them know that the nutrition will make the drugs more effective. So much so that eventually you can take less and less drugs. There's some exceptions to that, but for the most part, that's the case. To answer your question, okay? You do it gradually, and you let your doctor know. You always let your doctor know what you're doing because listen, this is not to make fun or be mean to doctors. They're good people. I have a lot of friends who are physicians, and 99.9% of them are good people. There's always jerks everywhere. But for the most part, they're angels. They want to make us better. They're not equipped. They don't have the know-how necessarily. They don't have the skill set, but it's not because they're bad people. They want to help us. They want to help you. And while some of them are arrogant and chauvinistic and what medical school did you go to, Chicago? And oh yeah, you learn that from Dr. Google, and and who are you listening to? Where maybe get off the internet. They're sarcastic and that happens, but for the most part, they're very, very good people, and they want to do good. And you know what, Chicago? When you tell him, if somebody's out there taping this or recording this, and you show it to your cardiologist, they're going to say he's right. That's why I go out of my way to give you the mechanisms here. I don't want to just assert and say, take this, take that. I want the mechanism to be clear so nobody can dispute it. And while Rebecca, I was teasing Rebecca, and I tease, not Rebecca, Ruth Ellen, and I tease Rebecca about that whole, we don't know what we're talking about, and you got to listen to your doctor, and that whole bit. When I give you the mechanism, there's no denying it. You can't disagree with dirty blood. You can't disagree with leaky gut. You can't disagree with low blood oxygen and inflammation and all these mechanisms. They're not disagreeable. There's not a possibility that a doctor can disagree with any of this stuff because it's logic. It's not medicine. It's just common sense. It's actually something called, and this is how the whole body's built, and if there's any engineers out there, they'll understand this. It's called fluid dynamics. Fluid dynamics is an engineering phenomenon. It's the dynamics or the movement, dynamics means movement or motion, of fluid. That's all it is. It's fluid dynamics. It's the movement of fluid. When I say all disease is cell disease and all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood, I'm talking about disruption in fluid dynamics or hemodynamics in the blood. Hemo means blood. So it's hemodynamics, it's fluid dynamics, it's engineering. The reason medicine fails is because it doesn't utilize engineering principles. The body is an engineering system. And so you want to understand how it's engineered so that when something's broken down, you can troubleshoot. And that's really what we're talking about here. This is not medicine. This is troubleshooting an engineering system, a fluid dynamic system. Okay? Make sense?
Yeah, yes.
All
It's
right.
funny, Doc. Ben, I gotta tell you one thing from Ben,
Yeah.
Pharmacist Ben.
Yes,
You
pharmacist.
running me, you like my mind going 5,000 miles an hour. My doctor's in the hospital for leaky gut. So
He's in the hospital himself?
Yes. So he couldn't, no, it's not funny. And he couldn't meet me at the last appointment. But I do give him a little credit. I gotta say this. When I took all my longevity stuff to him, he took me across the hall to the hospital pharmacist, and the pharmacist says, "These things are good.
There you
Take
go.
them,
Listen,
take
they're
them."
not all, there's beautiful doctors and pharmacists out there. And so tell your doctor to get on the next Zoom call. We could talk to him. And I'm only partially teasing because I wish I could talk to doctors. I hate that I have to talk to people who already understand and believe this stuff. Because I know everybody is on my side here and you all understand and believe it. I want to talk to doctors. So if you have a doctor out there who says Dr. Wallach or Longevity or Pharmacist Ben are crazy, put him on the call. I want to talk to him. That's
Now,
who
I don't know. I don't know
get them.
about that.
Anybody out there, say,
but
get your doctor
yes.
on the call. They won't want to
Okay.
come. They won't want to come. But yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 4 hands up and 15.
Oh.
All right, Chicago.
Okay,
God
Ben.
bless you, my
Okay,
friend.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. So let's go to Phyllis.
Yes. Hey, Ruth Ellen.
Hey.
Hi, Ben.
Hi.
Ben, people are very much tracking with you. Verna wrote in the chat, she loves your explanations. So, with a lot of O's, powerful.
Nice. Thank you, Verna.
Got a couple of questions. We have Linda Carroll on YouTube. She understands that we lose T cells with age. How do we keep our T cells healthy?
Same thing. T cells for thymus, they're made in the thymus, and immune cells in general, made in the bone marrow, made in the thymus, broken up in, processed by the body in all kinds of ways, are disturbed by the same thing that disturbs anything else: inflammation. You keep inflammation out. What is inflammation? Inflammation is the body's response to diseased or broken down or dead cells. Let me just digress real quick and tell you how this happens. When a cell dies or when it becomes dysfunctional, the first thing that happens is it starts to accumulate toxins. Cells are doing work. And when a cell is doing work, it produces waste. That's just part of the work. Whenever we're producing work, we get exhaust, like your car is going to have exhaust. So when a cell does work, it has waste. But as a cell starts to become dysfunctional, that waste starts to accumulate. As the waste is accumulating, the body has to protect all the good tissue, the good cells, from all that waste. And so the body will put fluids and fiber and sometimes other cells, immune cells, in that area to act like a beaver's dam, to sort of an airbag in your car. And when a cell dies, then all that waste is spewed everywhere. When a cell dies, it literally explodes, and all of that waste that's been building up becomes local to that area, and the body protects itself with fibers and cells and fluids, and that's what we call inflammation. Inflammation is an airbag. And so that airbag, while it's functional, if it's chronic, and that is because you have chronic dead cells or chronic weak cells, which are of course caused by toxicity and malnourishment and low oxygen, now you get lots of these pockets of inflammation. This is what inflammation is, and this is important because when we hear the word inflammation, we think of a black eye, understandably, because that's what inflammation looks like, or we think of a knot on your head or a broken ankle where it gets swelling or it gets swollen and red. And that's true. That's macro inflammation. The kind of inflammation I'm talking about is micro inflammation that we don't see, but it accumulates. And if we're like most people, it starts accumulating when we're babies. If we're like most people, if we're like most Americans, inflammation starts to accumulate when we're in the crib, sometimes even in the womb. So by the time we're in our 20s and our 30s and our 40s, we've got lots of pockets of inflammation. And these pockets of inflammation, while they're protective, will keep nutrition from getting through. They'll keep oxygen from getting through these pockets of inflammation. And they'll keep toxins from leaving, which means you have more cell death and more inflammation, which of course keeps more, prevents more nutrients from getting through, more oxygen getting through, accumulation, more waste and more inflammation. And this continues, this vicious cycle of toxicity and starvation and suffocation, leading to dead cells and inflammation, leading to more toxicity, more starvation, more suffocation, more inflammation, and on and on and on it goes. And now when it happens in the thymus, it's going to affect the T cells. When it happens in the bone marrow, it's going to affect the B cells, the other immune cells, or maybe the white blood, or maybe the red blood cells. It'll affect different parts of the body. And by the way, one of the things these inflammatory pockets do, can you picture the I'm looking at you, Phil, because I can't see anybody else. So one of these things the inflammatory pockets do is they block tissue and cells and organs from getting blood. So what does the body do to get more blood to those areas? It turns up the pressure. And then you get what's called high blood pressure. The high blood pressure epidemic that we have is partially caused by inflammatory pockets. And when the doctor looks for a cause for the high blood pressure, he's not going to look for the inflammatory pockets. So you know what they'll say? They'll call it essential hypertension. Essential means it's just part of you. There's no reason. There's no cause. It's essential. That's what the word essential means. Essential is when something's part of you. It's part of your nature. They call it essential hypertension. It's literally what they call it. And guess what else? They'll tell you. Over 80% of hypertension is essential hypertension. Most hypertension is essential. Oh, well, that's just part of you. Just natural. It's just who you are. The only thing we can do is drugs, because they don't see this mechanism. Now, if you understand this mechanism, which isn't that complicated, really, you know more than your doctor. And it's not that complicated. It's like we can't see the forest for the trees. We can't see the simplicity because we're overthinking. We're trying to see all the complex mechanisms that we're missing all the simplicity. So for T cells, for aging, and by the way, you know what they call it now? You know what they call aging now? They call it inflammaging. Have you heard this term? No. It's called inflammaging, right? Literally, I'm not making it up. That's what it's called. Google it, inflammaging. Because that's what causes aging. That's what causes T cells. To answer your question is, do the same thing that you do for the heart or for the brain or for any other part of the body. Digestion, blood sugar, starvation, suffocation, toxification, eliminate the toxicity, get on the nutritional supplements, make sure you're breathing, make sure you're exercising. Don't overthink.
Ruth Ellen, you want me to drop off or ask another question?
Well, we have several questions.
Yeah, let's do.
I'll drop off.
One is kind of important because
Let's do one more. And by the way, me and AJ are going to do a Bright Bites on the 14th, right, AJ? Is it the 14th? 14th. 14th?
10 p.m.
10 p.m. 14th. So if we missed you today, come on next Monday.
All right. So AJ, go ahead.
No, Phyllis was going to bring in the YouTube questions, but I guess since I'm on,
Had a question from somebody that's going to have surgery.
This was from.
Oh yeah, yes. I'm so sorry. Yes, so sorry. Hang on, that one was very important.
In your text messages.
Male, 6 foot, 5'6", 325 pounds, scheduled for gastric surgery in 5 days. Presently, all the things that you know that he has: blood pressure, AFib, aneurysm, cholesterol, diverticulitis, arthritis, clots, vasculitis, to name a few.
Name a few. Wait, there's more?
Individual states not having surgery will add more risk to aneurysm increasing and not recovering fast enough. So his family doesn't want him to have the surgery. They're afraid. He wants to have the surgery. What kind of supportive things? Obviously, he's got to make his own decision. But what kind of supportive things can we suggest this person who's in distress?
Everything we just talked about, if you want to do something quick, beyond tangerine, listen, there's going to be a lot of people who don't want to do the stuff they have to do. Okay, I understand that. But everybody can do this. It's liquid. It goes right to work. It's packed with nutrients. Get on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. One of the most important times, it's always important to be on a good nutritional supplement program, but one of the most important times, above and beyond other times, is pre and post surgery. The prognosis, the results of your surgical procedure will largely be determined by how well nutriated you are before the surgery and after the surgery. And that's true about all surgical procedures, including minor ones like skin surgeries, like when they burn off skin cancers or when you have a skin peel done or laser done. And you guys know I'm in the skin business. Before a procedure and after a procedure, nutriating before and after will in large part determine how effective your surgical procedure is going to be.
Yes. Are you saying the body's going to go through some trauma?
Absolutely. As soon as they put the scalpel in your skin, the healing process begins. So if you're loaded up with nutrients, that healing process will have the raw material it needs to ensue as soon as the scalpel goes in. And oh, by the way, keeping the blood clean and moving effectively post-surgery is very important for healing. In fact, it's so important for healing that they'll actually give you blood thinners right in the operating room. Well, guess what? Fucoid Z is a natural, it has the same kind of molecular structure, molecular nature as heparin. Heparin and fucoidin have a lot of things in common, and fucoidin taken post-surgery can help your blood circulate so you get more nutrition and more oxygen and more detoxification. One of the worst things that happens post-surgery, by the way, that they never tell you about, and probably 70 to 80% of surgical patients suffer from this, is called fibrosis, scar tissue. Mm-hmm. And scar tissue and fibrosis will cause problems later on down the road with organs as well as with the skeletal structure. So you'll have organ issues. You can have problems with suffocation and starvation, intoxication, as you get blockages in organs post-surgery. And you can also get pain post-surgery if you're having skeletal surgery, bone surgery, or tendon or ligament surgery. Fibers or scar tissue that forms in the ligaments can impair movement later down the road, can cause pain later down the road, can lead to arthritis later down the road. So using nutrients post-surgery is pre and post is very important for determining the effectiveness, how effective your surgical procedure will be.
So is there a shot for this person to reverse his dirty blood scenario?
Yeah, he's going to have to change his life. He's going to have to do things that he may not want to do. And
he's listening. Tell him what to do.
Well, it's too many things, but everything we just talked about. But and I don't mean to be disrespectful here, but I'm just, keeping it real. If you're 5'7" and 300 pounds, that means there's something going on mentally or psychologically that is keeping you from doing the right things. And that has to be addressed. To get to that point means something's going on that's making you self-destructive, that you're actually hurting yourself.
Giving up.
And even worse than giving up, actively hurting yourself, really. And there are all kinds of psychological reasons for that, and that's above and beyond my pay grade, but that's something you got to recognize.
Yeah, well, Keely really cares about her client, and she wants the best for him. So we are all pulling for you, buddy, and thanks, Pharmacist Ben.
Thank you. God bless everybody, and we'll see you on Monday the 14th.
All right. Thank you so much, Pharmacist Ben.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.
All right. All right. So everyone that did not get their questions asked, please email us at questions@dailywithdoc.com and make sure that you give us your phone number, your height, your weight, and all of that necessary information. Also, make sure you get them to us over the weekend so that AJ can ask questions of Pharmacist Ben, and tell us when Ben's Bites is going to be, AJ.
10 p.m. Eastern
On what day?
on Monday.
Monday
the
at
15th.
10 p.m. Eastern on the 14th. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'm really sorry about the questions that didn't get answered. There's also a call team available at 855-949-3377. And if somebody doesn't answer, I think it goes to voicemail, so please leave a message as well. And Albert will be answering in the middle of the night, so it doesn't matter what time. Anyway, thank you again for joining us. My name is Ruth Ellen Sanchez, and I'm the Executive Production Manager for Daily with Doc, and happy to be hosting and covering my good dear friend, Rebecca Dukes, who is the host and producer of this show. And so I'm going to go through and introduce Marilyn, who is Speedy Fingers, who has been typing feverishly in the text, in the chat in Zoom. So that's one of the benefits of being here live. And you can take screenshots of the chat if there was something that you wanted to get. We don't allow copying it right now. And then we have Phyllis, who is also out there on the different platforms, bringing in questions, typing in the chat on Zoom and everywhere else. So thank you so much, Phyllis. And then we have Albert, who is a gentleman and a bouncer here. He lets people into the Zoom, and he's a pivotal member of our team. Everyone is, but we're grateful that he lives in South Africa, although someday we're going to get together as a team in person, but at least that way we can have a call team open in the evening. So thank you so much, Albert. And then, of course, we have AJ, who is our digital marketing director, and he's helped get us on all the different platforms and does so many things I can't even say. And quite often we're up until 3:00 in the morning working. It's crazy. Anyway, thank you again for joining us. And I just need to say that this program was for educational purposes only, and it was not meant to treat, diagnose, or cure any diseases, nor take the place of your primary care physician. AJ.
Oh, I thought you were going to finish your disclaimer.
That's all I say at the end.
Okay. All right. Well, I just wanted to mention that if you want to watch us on YouTube, you can go to youtube.dailywithdoc.com. If you want to watch us on Rumble, you can go to rumble.dailywithdoc.com. If you want to watch us on Spotify, you hit spotify.dailywithdoc.com. Pick your favorite place, add a .dailywithdoc.com, and you can find us. Join us, spread the word, help your friends, help your family. Let's get it going.
Thank you so much. See what I mean about him? He's on it. That made it very simple. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful weekend. And always remember to be kind. You never know what somebody else is going through. And they may be smiling, and you may think they're happy, but inside they have pain. And kindness goes a long way, a long, long way. Have a beautiful weekend. And thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Bye for now.
Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. This program is for educational purposes only. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual sharing their testimony. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach.